Hello, this is Phil, Linux Mint Forum member PhD 21, and one of the questions that comes up frequently is how do you convert VHS tapes, video cassettes, the various versions of VHS tapes, into a digital format, because a lot of people still have VHS tapes, and they want to be able to preserve them because the VHS tapes are not going to last. So converting them into a digital format is a good thing to do, and there are various ways to do that on any computer operating system, or even without a computer. One of the best options, in my opinion, is to use a device that are readily available on Amazon.com, eBay, and other places that don't even require a computer. And one of them, and this information is on the Linux Mint forum. I'll provide a link to that. One of them is called Digit Now. They're standalone little devices with a micro SD storage card, where you can connect your VHS player or a camcorder or whatever video source, as long as it's got RCA or SVHS video connections. And it will record directly to a little micro SD card. That to me is like the best option, and they range from about $89, $99 dollars US to over $100. They're the easiest, and then you can just connect it to any computer via the USB port, or take out the little micro SD card and stick it in a micro SD USB adapter and plug that into any computer. Most laptops already have slots for the little micro SD cards because smartphones and various other devices already use those. And then you could just copy it over there. The other option is to get a USB device, a dongle, called a video capture device. And this particular forum member wanted to do that. They're less expensive, anywhere from like $11 to like $50. Some are more than that, but I don't think if you're going to go any higher than that, get the other device. But these should work as well. I don't happen to have one, so I can't actually show you how that works. But anyway, on the screen, it's basically a device you plug into the USB port on your computer, and they have them that work on any computer operating system: Microsoft Windows, Mac, and Linux. Obviously, for Linux Mint members, people using Linux, you have to get one that is known to work with Linux. And I happen to have one on the screen now. It's about $24, but there's other ones. I don't know that that's any better than the one for $11.99 that works. But they all have cables, RCA connection cables. Some have what they call an SVHS cable, and if your VHS player or camcorder or whatever has the SVHS connection, if you use that, it'll produce a little bit better quality. Now, these don't produce super high resolution videos, pardon me, because the VHS themselves don't record in super high quality. In fact, I've done a little bit of research on that, and the typical VHS tape is 333 by 480 resolution pixels, or some people just say 480p. Nowadays, of course, most DVDs are at least 480, and all Blu-rays, or higher, 720, 1080, and all Blu-rays and higher definition formats are way above that, like 1080p or 4K, 4000 pixels and stuff like that. But the old NTSC VHS tapes, whether they're homemade movies from video cameras or whether you bought VHS tapes and of movies and you want to record them, it's a good idea to digitize them, and there's some great ways to do that. One of the best programs to do that is to record from these devices is guvcview. It's a video for Linux. When you're recording on Linux, they call everything video for Linux, or V4L. And there's various options, various programs that can record from that. guvcview is one of the best. Now, if you look at the devices themselves, they're simple to connect and to use. And if you scroll down, they'll give you information about them. I happen to be on Amazon.com. Now, if you scroll down, you'll say resolution. Okay, 720 by 480. North American NTSC or European PAL is 720 by 576. That should produce, assuming the quality of the VHS tapes is still decent, it should produce pretty good recordings. It's not going to be as good as the super high definition, newer Blu-ray disc quality, but it should, you'll be able to preserve whatever's on those tapes. Now, guvcview is a program that's available in the Linux Mint Software Manager or Synaptic Package Manager in all editions. And it can record from webcams or these video capture devices. The newer version works much better than the one that is available in the Synaptic Package Manager or Software Manager in Linux Mint 18 or 17. The newer version is in Linux Mint 19, so you can just install it from there. If you're using Linux Mint 18 or Linux Mint 17, there's a PPA that you can install to get the newer version of guvcview, which I'm bringing up on the screen now. And all you have to do is bring up a console terminal prompt and type in each command one at a time, and then type in and then install guvcview. It's a wonderful program. It is the easiest program to use to capture from your webcam or any video for Linux device, including these video capture devices. Now, once you've, and basically all you do is you start playing whatever it is on your VCR or camcorder or whatever, and you bring up guvcview, and it's got a window, where it's showing you what the camera sees. Now you can adjust that, and you can record from it by just clicking record, and when whatever your video is finished, you just click stop. It records audio and video. Now you can adjust some settings. It will automatically detect what it considers the best settings for the device you have connected. You can pick the device under where it says device, under video controls, and you can select frame rates and resolution, but like the web page has already stated, most of these are around something by 480, and as you can see, so you can easily select that and then click capture video. You can select the audio controls from that device, which you should it will show up once you connect one of these video capture devices. It'll show up under the video controls and under the audio controls. Make sure you change both before you click capture video, and you can test it. Now, every time I've used guvcview, it creates an MKV Matroska video format, which is fine, and it's a very good compression ratio, so it makes smaller files. But this is by far the easiest method to record from these video capture devices, and it works great. And when you're finished making a recording, just quit. Now, once you have your recording, it's in a digital format. Just rename the file to whatever you recorded, because you don't want to. You want to know what you recorded. Obviously, you want to make it simple to identify what you've recorded. When guvcview makes a recording, it just calls it my video, and then it adds a number to it for each one. But you can simply just rename it and then move it from. In my case, it saves them in the home folder. You probably want to move it to your videos folder. Now, this particular person claims to have around 100 different video VHS cassettes that they want to convert. Well, obviously it makes sense to rename them to what it represents. If it's a movie, rename it to whatever the movie is. If it's a home video, then whatever the event is, so-and-so's birthday, or vacation, blah blah blah. And it's very simple to convert videos from one format to another. From MKV, which is a Matroska video, to MP4 or AVI or the WebM format. If you wanted to put them on, like you have your own website and you want to put all your family stuff on there, you'd probably be best using the WebM format, an HTML5 WebM format. But you can just, obviously it's very simple to rename it. You know, you just right click, rename, or hit F2, same thing, and call it, you know, webcam. In my case, because I just did a webcam capture. Anyway, now, what are you going to do with the videos? What's the best way to store them? Now, a lot of people will use, you know, will have hard drives, and nowadays they've got the solid state drives, which last longer and are much faster. But I still think that for anybody that wants to archive anything for a long period of time, the best way to do that is with DVDs or Blu-ray discs. They can't be accidentally erased, whereas, you know, anything on a hard drive, whether it's a solid state drive or the old hard drive, you know, mechanical platter drives, they could be accidentally erased. The drives only last 5 years, give or take. I mean, sometimes they can last much longer, sometimes they can last less than that. The solid state drives, the SSD drives, they last at least 5 years or longer. But a DVD can last decades if you keep it out of direct sun and high heat. And there are special DVDs now and Blu-ray discs called M-Disc, and they can last 1,000 years. Of course, you have to have an M-Disc burner, which is a piece of hardware, you know, a DVD burner or Blu-ray burner. They're not that expensive. The DVD burners, they're like $25. The Blu-ray burners are more than that, like $50 or more, but they hold a whole lot more. Now, everybody has a DVD player, or a Blu-ray player, so, and they know how to use them. So, copying, you know, digitizing your videos, creating a digital file from them, you can just copy them to a DVD in what they call a data format. And the typical DVD is 4.7 gigabytes. There's also dual layer DVDs, which is 8.5 gigabytes. The Blu-ray discs vary from 25 gigabytes, 50 gigabytes, 100 gigabytes, and obviously you could put a whole lot more videos that you digitize onto Blu-ray discs. But even on a regular DVD, if you copy a VHS video, you know, record it, convert it, record it, and it's 500 megabytes, just as an example. You could fit 9 of those on a regular DVD. If it's 1 gigabyte or around a gigabyte, well, then you could put 4.7. Regular DVDs, almost everybody has a regular DVD player, and most people nowadays have Blu-ray player, Blu-ray disc players. So it's a great way to preserve anything, whether it's business documents or whether it's these converting videos or music files or whatever. DVDs and Blu-ray discs are still a great option, especially the M-Disc kind, but even the regular kind, or the M-Disc are also besides lasting, they claim, 1,000 years, they can also withstand high heat and sunlight and stuff like that. Anyway, and most DVD players, even the older ones, can read what they call a data disk, where you've just got copies of video files and or images. Now, because the videos are in a lower resolution format, when you play them on newer TVs and stuff like that, they might come up small on the screen. Now, most of the TVs and or DVD Blu-ray players have an option, if you go through their options, that will automatically adjust that to fit the screen. But I made a suggestion in the forum to what they call upscale, to resize, increase, upscale the resolution of the video using one of the video editors that are readily available on Linux. There's quite a few of them. The one I use the most and works very well for this is called Kdenlive. It's a famous video editor, and you could take a video, a VHS video, any video for that matter, but like a VHS video, where the resolution is, let's say, something by 480 or 400, and convert that to a more high definition format, which would play better. Now, and in some cases, I've noticed that it actually can clean up or improve the video, which some people didn't agree with. But I've actually done this many times, as far as taking smaller videos and upscaling them, which the forum member wanted to see how that was done. Now, I don't know if they've ever used a video editor. Most of them are pretty similar, and they're not hard for this particular, just to increase the, enlarge, change, convert, upscale the video from one size, like something by 480 resolution, by 400 resolution or 480 resolution, to, let's say, 1280 by 720 resolution, is quite simple. Video editors can do much more than just that. Besides converting into different formats, I have found, though, that Kdenlive has worked better than all the other video editors for. And I haven't tried all of them, but I've tried most of them. But it can increase. You can enlarge, upscale a video without any loss. I don't see any loss at all in the video quality. In fact, in some cases, I've actually seen an improvement. But that's up to you to determine for yourself. The various settings can change that. Now, most of the time, when you go to enlarge, upscale a video or an image, a photo, an image or something like that, that doesn't work too well. It's easy to shrink them, to reduce their size, but usually when you go to increase them, there's a degradation. The quality, there's a reduction in the quality. With Kdenlive, I have not seen that. It works extremely well for enlarging, upscaling videos, and or if you add still images to your video project, those as well. And so I'm going, the purpose of this is to show Kdenlive how easy it is to take a video and either convert it into a different format, different resolution, a higher resolution, any resolution for that matter, but in this case a slightly higher resolution, and into different video formats. Now the first thing you need to do though is to install Kdenlive. Now Kdenlive is available in all Linux Mint systems through the software manager and the Synaptic Package Manager. I prefer the Synaptic Package Manager because I can search for things and see related packages, and you can right-click a package like Kdenlive and see if there's any recommended or suggested packages that will enhance or make that particular software work better. If you use the software manager, which is fine for a lot of things, you don't get to see all the related packages and or the recommended and suggested packages. So now there's various options for installing Kdenlive, and I'm going to go through that. If you bring up the Synaptic Package Manager, which is in your menu, and then you search for Kdenlive, you click search, you search for Kdenlive, it'll come up. You just right click it and you select mark for installation, then you right click it again, go down to recommended, and install every one of the recommended packages. The freer plugins, the SWH plugins, which are Shockwave plugins, the DVD author program, the Gene ISO image, the DVD grab, and then there's a K Help Center package. Install all of those. You have to do it each time. For each one you have to right click it, do it again, and then once that's in there, just click apply, and that will install Kdenlive. Now, sometimes, like if you look here, it says this is version 17. Kdenlive, like a lot of popular software packages, their developers also have alternate options for installing and updating their software. But I still recommend that everybody go through the Synaptic Package Manager, install Kdenlive, and then all the recommended and suggested packages. And once you're done that, there's they have a PPA. It's which is called a personal package, archive, which if you install, and there are links to this on the Linux Mint forum posts. Anyway, you just type in the command, each command one at a time, the first command to add their repository. Then you update your software sources, and then you just install it, which is sudo apt sudo space apt space install space Kdenlive, and those instructions are on the forum post as well. Now that will give you the most current version of Kdenlive for whatever version of Linux Mint you're using. Now if you're using Linux Mint 17, you're not going to get the most current version, and in fact this PPA won't even install in Linux Mint 17, but it will in Linux Mint 18 and Linux Mint 19. Now, another option they have is if you go to the Kdenlive website, they also provide an app image, a snap package, and a flat package. These are just different options for installing software. Now, I prefer the app image. These are self-contained packages where like everything you need to run this software, and which includes all the support packages and stuff like that, are contained within the app image or the snap package or the flat pack. I personally prefer the app image, and if you click the little plus sign next to that, there'll be a link. You just click this link, and it pops up and says, "Oh, what do you want to do with this?" Well, most people will save it to their downloads folder, so you click save. Now it's 169 megabytes, and it's going to take a little bit of time to save that. And then if you bring up your file manager and you go to your downloads folder, there'll be an app image, an app image file. Now, app image files are really easy to use. You just copy it. I prefer to move software like app images or the various applications that don't install in a typical Linux fashion into their own folder, which I call an apps folder or an applications folder, before I run them. And that way I know that all these software packages that are in there, I can manage them better. Now it's still downloading. It's almost finished. Now, a lot of software, and I mean a lot of software, from browsers to all the video processing and quite a lot of the audio processing programs, also use a software package called FFmpeg, which is in the Synaptic, in the Synaptic Package Manager and in the Software Manager as well. Now in Linux Mint 19, you can just install it from there. In Linux Mint 18, because the newer version is better, version 3.4. But in Linux Mint 18 or Linux Mint 17, it's not available in the version 3 is not available in the Synaptic Package Manager or the Software Manager. But again, they have a PPA to install it, which is easy to do, and it will keep that up to date and maintained. Okay, now that app image finished. Okay. Now you see the Kdenlive app image. Now what I usually do is I copy this. I copy it, or I can just click copy. I go to my or I can move it, but go to my applications folder. I have already created a Kdenlive folder, but you didn't have to, but I did. And you can just paste the file. Now I've already got one in there. Now you can see that they're up to version 18.08 now. Right now I'm using Linux Mint. Right now the operating system I have running is Linux Mint 18.3 KDE, which is based on Ubuntu 16.04 Xenial, whereas Linux Mint 19 is based on Linux Ubuntu 18.04 Bionic. It's what they call it. Now, the Kdenlive developers are developing for the newer versions, but their app image and Flatpak and Snap packages will work on Linux Mint 18. The app image will work even on, I'm pretty sure will work even on Linux Mint 17. Whereas none of the other installation options will work on Linux Mint 17. But as with all app images and most other programs, you have to give yourself permission to run it. All you got to do is right-click it, select Properties, Permissions, and check Executable. Make it executable, and click OK. Then you can just double-click it to run it. So it's pretty simple to install. Now, you only have to do that once. The process of installing Kdenlive and the support package and all that. Once it's installed, you can use it from then on. So that's how to install Kdenlive. Now, as far as FFmpeg on Linux Mint 18, that can be installed easily in Linux Mint 19 directly from the software manager or the Synaptic Package Manager. On Linux Mint 18 and older, Linux Mint 17, you have to use an FFmpeg PPA, and there's a link to this with instructions on the Linux Mint post, but it's on my screen right now too. And you just add this one line to add the repository, the PPA, for FFmpeg version 3. Update your software sources, and then there's a command to install it, plus some other video processing codecs, X264 and X265. The libav tools is all will be installed. That's on Linux Mint 19. That you don't use that one. But these instructions are already there. Okay, so now you've got everything you need to process videos, or most everything you would need to use Kdenlive and for and to process videos. Okay, so how do you actually use Kdenlive now for the process of enlarging, upscaling, resizing, transcoding or converting a video? I'm going to show you right now. Now you can also create a shortcut. You can right-click your desktop and create a shortcut to these app image files. There's also an app image helper for people that if you have any problems, installing an app image or adding it to your menu or your desktop. There's an app image launcher helper, which can be installed, and that makes it easier for people. If you're having a problem installing app images, it makes your Linux desktop app image ready. It'll automatically, all you have to do is double click an app image in your download folder, and it will automatically assign the right, change its permissions and all that stuff, and integrate it into your menus and on your desktop and all that. So for people that want to make that simpler, you could install this app image launcher, and there's a link to do that as well. Now let's bring up Kdenlive. Now, because I've installed Kdenlive in two different ways, I've installed it through I've actually installed it, and then I've also installed it through the app as an app image. So I've got two different versions of it. I've got the regular installation version, and I've got the app image version. The app image is probably newer than the ones you would get in the Linux Mint, what they call the repositories, which is the software manager or the Synaptic Package Manager. So if you double click it, I have it pointing to the wrong one. If you double click it, it should come up. and it's already asking, do I want to integrate, because I have this app image launcher program installed into my system. I'm just going to run it once. Now I'm using a very old, underpowered computer, a Dell Optiplex 780 ultra small form factor computer that only has a dual core processor and only has 4 gigabytes of system memory. So it's not as fast as any newer computer, but it should work. Now, I just, Kdenlive came up. Now, like most video editors, it's got a place where you can add video clips, and then it's got various boxes for information. It's got a clip monitor and a project monitor on the right. Then it's got video timelines and audio timelines. This is typical of most video editors. It can be kind of intimidating if you've never used them before. But in my opinion, it's worth learning how to do it. For this, it's really simple. Now, by default, it automatically comes up, and it's using a high definition 720p resolution at 30 frames per second. Now, what I was referring to before is Kdenlive can take various videos, no matter what format they are, whether they're lower resolution, like from these video capture devices or whatever, or even if they're higher resolution. Whatever I make the Kdenlive project, if I want the final video that I'm making from this to be 720 by 30, it's going to convert everything, whether it's videos or images, no matter what their original resolution is, to this format, and this frame rate, which is the speed at which the video plays. But you can change that. Under Project, you can go to Project Settings, and you can pick various options. I like to I want anything I do in Kdenlive to save its project settings and the video output, whatever I create, underneath my videos folder in a Kdenlive folder. And you could just click this button on the right here, which is a typical browse button, and browse to your video folder. And I already have one, but you could also create it there if you wanted to create a new folder. So maybe you want to do that. That's up to you. I think that's a good idea, because then I know that everything I do with the Kdenlive video editor is in that folder. Now you can pick your project profiles. There's a lot of project profiles here. Now, the faster, more powerful your computer, the better, because when you're doing video conversion or video editing and stuff like that. Although, even on my ancient underpowered computer, I can still do it. When converting low resolution formats, though, upscaling them or resizing them, or just changing them from one format to another, or combining a bunch of little videos into one video, it doesn't make sense to go much, to any higher than like 720 resolution. Although you could go up to 1080p and look at all the, they even have 4K and higher resolutions. But I would pick like high definition 720, either 29.97 frames per second or 30 frames per second. Even the 25 frame per second is all right. In this case, I'm just going to pick the 29 frame per second, If you're on a really old computer, you could select proxy clips, but you don't really need to do that. There's other settings you can change to. You could come in here and put in who you are, the author and year. Okay, now okay, that's because the message that just popped up on my screen is because I already had that folder in there. Alright, now before I continue here, if I go, I've already copied into my Kdenlive folder the videos that I'm going to use for the project. And if you've got a lot of them, images, videos, whatever, or audio tracks, you might want to create a subfolder and organize them, in that way. Maybe by event, these are the videos for this event and this date and time, and but anyway, it's easy to do that. Now, I have a YouTube video with lyrics of and I also have a nature video from one of the other Linux Mint members, and whose father had nature cameras, outdoor nature cameras, and they wanted to create DVD discs to play in a DVD player, and there's various programs to do that as well. But they were in an AVI format, which is an older format, instead of MP4 or MKV. But in this instance, the goal here is to just show you how to use Kdenlive to upscale, resize, transcode, or convert into a larger format. Now, if you look at this particular video here, which is a music video, you can see that its resolution is 640 by 360, which is a lower resolution, and it's running at 23 frames per second. This nature video has a resolution of 704 by 384, and it's at 29 frames per second. Now, I've set my Kdenlive project to a high definition 720 at 29 frames per second. Now, anything I add to this is automatically going to be converted or upscaled or resized to the project profile. And anything you add to the project is called a clip, whether it's a video clip, they have slideshow clips, an audio clip, whatever. Anything you add is just called a clip. So I'm going to add a clip, and it pops up with a little file browser. Go to my videos and go to my Kdenlive folder, and I'm going to add this nature video. Now, it comes up and says, oh, no profile found for this clip. Create and switch to a new profile. Which means it wants to change my project's profile to whatever the video is. I do not want to do that. So I'm going to say cancel. Okay. Because I want it to convert this video into this format. I'm going to add another one. Going to add the music video. Now, the one format's AVI. This little music video with the lyrics on there is in a WebM format. So now I've added that. Now, there's a whole lot you can do with a video editor. You can, if you need to edit it, they have, and it might help to make it full screen. Okay, and you can resize these boxes, including the clip box. I can go like this. I can resize them. If I right-click one of the videos, I can say Clip Properties, and it tells me about it. Like this particular video is 704 by 384. It's an MPEG-4, MP4. This one is 640 by 360, and it's WebM. Okay. And I can resize that if I want to see it better. I could recode them, what they call transcode them, right here. I could go to transcode and pick a different format, but you don't need to do that, because just adding it to the project, when I go to render, which means when I go to create the final video or output the final video, it's going to automatically convert it to this format, to the project format, the project's profile format. Now I can just drag the video from this clip manager, what they call the project bin, the project clip manager, or I could drag it from the clip monitor over here on the right side, and I could just click and hold and drag it to one of the video timelines. If you want to trim it, like maybe, you know, I only want a portion of the video, you can mark that. What they in Kdenlive they call it, you know, set zone in and set zone out, which is just like mark beginning, mark end. Okay, so I can play it and then mark it, go all the way towards the end, and if there was something at the end that I didn't want, I can just mark the end and then just drag it to a timeline. Notice I didn't actually do any, I didn't edit the actual clip this time, although I could have easily done that. Now, if I want to be able to see the whole clip, down at the bottom, there's an option, a little button that says Fit Zoom to Project. There's a slider as well, but you know, if you click that button, then it shows the whole, that's the whole entire video for the music video, which is in a WebM format. And if all I want to do is convert that now keep in mind, the original video was 640 by 360, and I'm going to convert it to 720. The project thing. Now, if all I got to do is click render. Now, when you click render, a new window pops up, the rendering window, with various formats. The generic formats are more than enough for this. It depends on your needs, depending on what you're doing. And there's different formats. The WebM format will compress it the most. It'll make the smallest videos, but not all DVD or Blu-ray players and stuff like that can play the WebM format. Perfect though if you're going to put it on a website or something like that. But you can pick MP4, which is the most common. And you notice when you change the format, the name of the file, the output file at the top, the extension MP4 it changes. If I select WebM, it's going to be WebM. If I select MP4, it's going to be MP4. If I pick MPEG-2, it's going to be MPG. There's various other options as well, but the ones in the generic are more than enough. So normally you would just pick, well, I'm going to pick MP4. Then you click the more options at the bottom, and it pops up with more options on here. Now, if you want it to be in the best quality, you see a quality slider here. Just slide that all the way over to the right. Then you click more options, then go over here. Now, this button that says export audio, if there is audio, you want to make sure that's solid. Now, under the scanning options, it's on auto. Depending on the type of video, you probably want to change that. I usually use forced progressive scan versus interlaced, And the only way to find out is to try it. The progressive works pretty well most of the time, but you may find, depending on if the video, depending on the source of the video, interlaced may work better. And the only way to find out is to actually try it and see what the resulting video looks like. I'm going to select progressive. Now I'm going to change the name. It's just going to use untitled as a default, but I can change that. I can call it music video. And if I wanted to go even further, I could say WebM to MP4, which is what I'm doing, for this test. Then all I have to do is click render to file. And in a moment it comes up and you can see it's now rendering. Now it says it's going to take about 8 minutes and 5 seconds. And that'll vary, depending on how much memory you have on the computer, how fast the computer is, a lot of different factors. And it's a good idea to not do other computer-intensive things while you're doing this, unless you're on a really powerful computer. Now, what I have noticed is, and I mentioned this briefly before, that I've actually seen an improvement in the videos when I have used Kdenlive, and I've taken lower resolution videos and run it through Kdenlive to either convert it to a different format or to change the resolution, like from 480 to 720, or even higher for that matter, that the resulting quality is at least as good as the original. And in some cases, to me, it actually looks better. But that's, I guess that's up to the individual to determine that themselves. But I'm going to show you anyway. And so don't you'll have to try that yourself. Now, as you can see, it's running through the process. There's still about 3 minutes left. Now, on larger videos, like if you were converting, a full-length movie, or anything that's an hour to 2 hours long, whether it's from your video camcorder or one of these Go cams, or whatever. I mean, it's going to take longer. But again, that is also dependent upon how fast and powerful your computer is. Multi-core computers, with 2 or more processing cores that are faster, like 3 gigahertz, 4 gigahertz, and whatever. And memory, system memory, are going to do this much faster than my computer is doing right now. That's why I'm using, for this demonstration tutorial, I'm using smaller videos. Now it's almost finished. And you'll notice up in the toolbar it also shows, you know, how much relative time is left. Now the other nice thing about this is I could add multiple videos and make one video out of it. Now it's finished this one. Okay. And it took 5 minutes, 18 seconds on my ancient underpowered computer to do that. Now I'm going to show you real quickly. I'm going to go through that again. I'm going to remove this clip, cut the clip, delete. Okay. Now I'm going to take that nature video one, which is 704 by 384, and now it's showing in the clip monitor. If I don't want to make any changes or edits, you know, I can just click in there and drag it. And you want to make sure the video, you can just click and move it to the very left of the timeline, the video timeline. Then I just click render again. Make sure you're on render project. Pick a format, you know, MP4, WebM, whatever. Make sure more options is on. Make sure your export audio, choose your scanning option, and just click, you know, and the quality. Just click render to file. Oh, and change the name, of course, because since I've modified this, it's not a. This is a nature video now. This particular one's nature video, and that was in AVI. And I'm going to convert it to MP4, and just click render. Boom. Now it's going to come up and say it's doing the process. Now this one's going quicker. Now I'm going to show you before and after what the original one's least as good as the original. And like I said, in some cases I actually see an improvement, even though theoretically you're not supposed to. Now there are options in most video editors, including Kdenlive. While it's rendering, you know, I'll minimize that. There you can add effects. Let's say the video is there are options, what they call effects, that you can add to a video to sharpen it, to despeckle, or add special effects or title pages and stuff like that. There's or even audio correction. But as you can see here, there's enhancement options. Sharpen, a denoiser means if there's, you know, if it's grainy, they call that noise and stuff like that, and you could do that as well. I didn't do any of that in this, but there's a whole bunch of different options as well. You can even slow them up, speed them up, slow them down or speed them up. So I mean, there's a lot that you can do. You can change an audio track or add an audio track. But you know, I just wanted to show you the simplest way to convert a video to, you know, to resize, upscale, transcode, convert, whatever you want to call it, from a lower resolution format to a higher resolution format. It's as simple as adding the video clip to the project, dragging it to the timeline, and then clicking render, and picking your options in the rendering, the output format, the file name, and what video format you want, and some other options, and then you just click render to file, and that's it. Okay, now it's just finished that. Okay, they're both finished. So I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to close. Now if I wanted to, I could save this project, but I'm not going to. I'm going to quit. Save changes to diagram. No. Okay, now here is the original music video in the WebM format. Now this is just a lyrics version. I wanted to. It just happens to be a song that I like, and I wanted to see the lyrics. And this particular YouTube video is somebody put the lyrics to it. It's not the official video, and it's in a WebM format. Okay. I'm just going to let her play for a few seconds. Now, I'm going to switch it now to show you the converted video. Which is right here. And it should be playing that right now, but it still shows WebM. Open the local video. Pick the one I converted. Add that. Well, let's just try that again. Go back here. Open with. I'm just opening it with one of the multimedia video players. Okay, and as you can see, this is the converted one, and I don't see any difference at all between that and the original one. In fact, it looks just, it looks a little cleaner, but it's definitely at a higher resolution now. Okay, pause that. If you look at the resolution of this, you can see now it's 1280 by 720, and it's running at 29 frames per second. The original one was 640 by 360, running at 23 frames per second, and I don't see it. The quality is just as good, if not better. Now let's take a look at the original nature video, which was 704 by 384, running at 29 frames per second. I'm going to open it with the same video player. Now I'm going to make that full screen temporarily. This is the original video. Now this is a nature webcam video before it was converted, and you can see some deer and what looks like sandhill cranes going through the woods here with the deer. There is actually some audio, not much. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the converted nature video into MP4, and then notice it now it's 1280 by 720, 29 frames per second. Okay. I'm going to open it with the same video player, which in this case happens to be Totem. It's just called Videos. Okay, and I'm going to make it full screen. Now, I don't know if the rest of you can see the difference, but to me, in this instance, this video actually looks better, as if it was it looks improved than the original. So, anyway, that's my tutorial for on how to use Kdenlive, on converting VHS videos to a digital format on the Linux Mint system, and using Kdenlive Video Editor to they call it transcoding, but when you convert a video in any way, they call it transcoding it, or upscaling, or enlarging, or converting it from one format to another. And I hope that you found that informative, and I hope all of you have a great day.